Thank God it's Friday. You're watching AM Live. My name is Olive Burrows, and today it's all about leadership. We talk about giving and to others. But first, let's take a look at the newspapers. I hope you've gotten up to a good start. The Daily Nation, of course, we have to start with the Daily Nation. The story on the Daily Nation, the top story is a scandal of 1 billion shilling split oil at the Kenya Pipeline Company. On the cover is Joe Sang. There's a photo of him right there next to that particular headline, and it says Kenyans could be forced to compensate oil firms through pump price adjustments for fuel lost through Kenya Pipeline Company's pumping system. But was it lost or stolen, and for how long has this been going on? That's the top story on the Daily Nation today, so be sure to grab your copy. Right on the top here is a story that also led yesterday on NTV, and that's about the Akasha's 5 billion drug deal that went wrong. We have a story about how judicial officers and magistrates conspired to shield them from extradition. More on that story coming up. Let's look at the Business Daily next. And the story on there is one that is of a lot of interest, and that is that 70% of salaried Kenyans earn less than 50,000 shillings. 74% of salaried Kenyans earn less than 50,000 shillings. Now, that is a story that is bound to get a lot of reaction, I'm sure, from you. So be sure to tag us. Our handle is at AM Live or at NTV Kenya, or mine at O Burrows. Let's discuss that as well. That is 74% of salaried Kenyans earn less than 50,000 shillings. On the Standard, talks the judiciary is on the spot. It says a shake-up plan as audit reveals rot in the judiciary. Report shows shocking instances of job mismatch, like security guards engaging in proofreading court documents, assessing court fees, and even updating the court diary. Quite the allegation, and that is on the Standard this morning. There's also a photo there of Raila Odinga, opposition leader Raila Odinga, with a former multi-party activist Lawrence Nginyo Kariuki yesterday. So that is on the cover of the Standard this morning. Last but not least, let's look at what the Star is discussing. On their cover is the 2/3 gender bill. Uhuru Raila summon MPs over gender bill. That is what is headlining the Star this morning. I want to hear your thoughts on this. 74% of salaried Kenyans earning less than 50,000. We'll come back to the newspapers with my panelists and have them react to those stories this morning. But I promised you that we'd look at more on the Akasha story. And 2 High Court judges and 2 magistrates face arrest and possible extradition to the U.S. to face charges of bribery linked to the delayed extradition of the 2 Akasha brothers to the U.S. NTV's Seth Olale reports that apart from senior judicial officers, a sitting governor and cabinet secretary are among 10 prominent Kenyans also being sought by the U.S. Department of Justice in relation to the alleged crime that occurred between 2014 and 2016.
In what is shaping up to be Kenya's biggest interstate drug trafficking investigation, the Director of Public Prosecution, Nurdin Haji, is considering granting the U.S. Department of Justice the go-ahead to investigate over 10 Kenyans suspected of taking bribes from the Akasha drug barons. A cabinet secretary, a governor, a top lawyer, a prosecutor, and a senior detective are among the over 10 prominent Kenyans that the U.S. Department of Justice is investigating over allegations of taking bribes from the Akashas. One of the Akasha lawyers has denied receiving bribes from his clients and is unaware of any investigations being conducted by the U.S. Department of Justice.
Let them say which lawyer it is. But one thing I can tell you for a fact is this. Lawyers, we do our work. We go to court. We defend our clients. We bring forward their points and their opinions and what they want done. If there were any allegations of bribery, where were they reported?
The developments mean that those who handled the Akasha extradition cases from 2014 may have cause for concern, as investigators are particularly focused on cases that were before the courts. They are the then Mombasa Chief Magistrate Maxwell Gisheru, High Court Judge Edward Muridhi, Justice Maureen Odero, Justice Martin Muya, Appellate Judges Hannah Okwengu, Milton Makandia and Fatuma Sishale, Chief Magistrate Julius Nangea, Justice Retired Anyara Mkule and Justice Chepkwony.
I mean, what is it in your interpretation? What did you mean?
During an interview on Citizen TV, Haji indeed confirmed that his office is closing on 2 judges and 2 magistrates suspected of frustrating the extradition case of Baktash Akasha and his brother Ibrahim Akasha between 2014 and 2016, when the 2 were finally extradited by the FBI to the US on a chartered plane to face charges relating to drug trafficking.
You only have to look at the Akasha case in New York. And there are, and this will come out soon, there are judicial officers who are compromised. And I don't think anybody would stand up and say, this is revisiting. The Americans have the evidence.
Although the DPP has not outlined the specific timeline when the arrest and possible extradition of the suspects will take place, his office is reviewing the evidence submitted by the US Department of Justice with a view to arrest and prosecute them.
I mean, there's always been arguments that we are revisiting, or because of the president's statement that we are revisiting with the judiciary.
Especially for the BCJ case?
Yeah, especially for that case.
Chief Justice David Maraga recently strongly denied that the judiciary was corrupt.
The assurance I can give the country is that the judiciary is ready, and we are going to deal with those cases as they come. We are going to deal with those cases, and as I've said, I have given instructions that these cases have got to be given priority, so that we deal with that.
The attorney is reading mischief in the investigations being conducted by the FBI, adding that the US authorities broke the law by illegally extraditing his clients to the US to face charges relating to drug trafficking.
All they are saying is that this extradition was being stopped because of bribery. Was the extradition stopped? It was never stopped. It was ongoing. And I can tell you for one thing, let the government of the day not run away from its responsibility. It should have protected our people. The process was ongoing. The weakness of the government cannot be said to be the weakness of the judiciary.
Baktash Akasha and Ibrahim Akasha, who pleaded guilty to drug trafficking charges last month in New York, confessed under oath to having offered millions of shillings to judicial officers and policemen as inducement to forestall their extradition to the US to face drug-related charges. Next year, January, will mark exactly 2 years since the Akashas were extradited to the United States of America to face charges relating to drug trafficking. Attempts by Akasha's mother to have her sons returned home has not bore fruit. Seth Olale, NTV, Nairobi. Now, 22 families of suspected criminals in different areas in Nairobi have filed a petition against the National Police Service for what they term as extrajudicial killings committed by a killer squad within the police force. The petition, that is strongly backed by the International Justice Mission, which is listed as the 24th petitioner and which decries the failure of the police to treat every suspect as innocent unless proven otherwise by a court of law. The petition lists the Attorney General and the Inspector General of Police as the first and second respondents. NTV's Charity Mwangi with these details.
It has been a tug of war between police in Dandora, Mathare and Kayole and area residents whenever suspected criminals are shot. On one side is usually their aggrieved relatives who defend their kin and insist on their innocence or the right to due process. They view the shootings as outright murders perpetrated by those in authority, the police.
Huyu kijana alikuwa analia hata anasema yeye sio mwizi. Mimi nalala tu hapa, mimi ni desperate. Yenyewe mtoto anaweza ingia kwa tabia mbaya, lakini kuna mahali nafaa mtoto apelekwe. Si kushikwa tu na kuuliwa tu kama mnyama hivyo.
Police officers present a different narrative, one that seeks to show the inhumane acts the suspects are accused of having committed. This with the aim of showing the uphill task they have to shoulder to maintain law and order in such troubled, crime-prone areas.
Vijana saa hii wana ruma. Utaweka kisu ama kufe kitu moja. Lakini Mungu mko na mimi.
The battle has now shifted from the streets to the corridors of justice, with the police now expected to defend against accusations of failing to use constitutionally accepted methods of dealing with suspected criminals. In the petition, the petitioners seek to have the court declare that 1. The Inspector General of Police, listed as the second respondent, has failed in his constitutional obligation to investigate instances where the use of force by police officers led to death in total violation of Article 244 of the Constitution and Paragraph 6 of the 6th Schedule of the National Police Service Act. 2. That the failure of the Inspector General of Police to investigate instances where the use of force led to death amounts to violation of the petitioner's right to equal protection and benefits of the law. 3. That the Inspector General of Police starts prompt, thorough, impartial and effective investigations into the circumstances that led to the deaths and report progress to court within such periods that the court directs. The petitioners are expected to present before court witnesses from families still grieving the loss of their long-departed loved ones. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Well, more than 40 suspected members of the Mombasa Republican Council have been arrested in Likoni, Mombasa. That happened yesterday. The suspects were arrested at Shelly Beach, while allegedly taking an illegal oath. That is according to the Likoni Deputy County Commissioner Eric Wamlevu. Wamlevu said the suspects had organized a feast when they were nabbed. Tens of MRC membership cards were also recovered during the operation by police officers from the Likoni police station. Police sources said the suspects are from Kwale, Lamu and Kilifi counties. Previously, MRC members were arrested for engaging in criminal activities, especially in Mombasa, Kwale and Kilifi counties, and charged with murder and attacks on police stations.
Out of the 46, there were 29 people who are having MRC cards, because we found some paravernalias, we have found some skin of a cow which had been slaughtered, and all other paraphernalia that can be used before court tomorrow morning.
Cabinet on Thursday approved the purchase of 2 million bags of maize from local farmers at 2,300 shillings a bag. Farmers and some members of parliament from the Rift have, however, expressed dissatisfaction at this price. They want the price of a 90-kilogram bag of maize to beat the 3,200 shilling price set by Cabinet last year. Earlier this year, it emerged that brokers were paid 2 billion shillings for supplying the National and Cereals Board under dubious circumstances, while farmers went unpaid. A few days ago, more than 100,000 bags of maize was seized in Changamwe, Mombasa. Detectives had been tracking the shipping and entry of the maize from Mozambique to the port of Mombasa. On the international scene, Saudi Arabia's crown prince, that is Mohammed bin Salman, arrived in the UAE on Thursday at the start of a tour of several Arab countries, his first trip abroad since the murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi that caused a global outcry. The prince, the country's de facto ruler, is also expected to participate in a G20 meeting in Buenos Aires at the end of the month, which will be attended by leaders from the United States, Turkey and European. taste of what you can expect.
County number 39.
Wakeni wenye wanakuja tunawakaribisha. Mtaona barabara zimenyoka nywee.
Tunawakaribisha kwa kitu kama sima.
Tunawakaribisha kwa ingoko.
Famed for its rich culture and its agricultural potential, from its maize plantations to the mountains and the valleys that define Bungoma County, the land of Masinde Muliro, Wamalwa Kijana and Elijah Masinde. NTV explores the breadth and length of this county this weekend, and the NTV On The Road team brings you this county as you've never seen it before. NTV On The Road, the AFW edition, Friday 23rd to Sunday 25th.
Well, in studio with me, I have several panelists, 4 in total at the moment. I expect a 5th shortly. At the extreme left, my extreme left is Pastor David Kiniti of the Parklands Baptist Church. And Karibu, welcome to AM Live. Is it your first time on NTV?
Yes, this is my first time and it's a big privilege.
Okay, we are happy to have you.
Thank you.
And next to him is Mohammed Salim Faisal, who is the president of the Rotary Club of Nairobi. Welcome to AM Live. Have you been on NTV before?
Many years back, yeah.
Many years back. So we're glad to have you back. And next to him is, I don't know whether Anne is his immediate predecessor, but she's a former president of the Rotary Club in Nairobi. Welcome very much to AM Live.
Thank you very much.
And next to Anne, looking dapper in yellow, my kind of colors, given a Makamba, is Teresa Waweru, who is the founder of the Heritage of Hope and Faith Children's Home. Founder, director.
Good morning.
Good morning and welcome to AM Live. Your first time?
No.
It's not?
Not the first time.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So you're comfortable?
I'm comfortable.
Okay, Karibuni, feel at home.
Thank you.
I want us to look at what's covered in the papers today. And the first story for me that really caught my eye is what's on the Business Daily, that 74% of salaried Kenyans earn less than 50,000 shillings. Now, our discussion today is about giving unto others. And there's a very interesting claim that the Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi made on Monday this week when it was hosted by Ken Mijungu. Let's listen to that and then get into what's in the papers today.
Kenyans are not good givers. Kenyans are not philanthropic. Take my word for it. If you look at if you go around to Pokot, go to Baringo, go to wherever and interview the people, they ask them who has built these small healthcare centers or welfare places or rescue centers or such facilities. They will tell you it is the Red Cross, it is a donation from NORAD in Norway, Bill Gates came here to donate malaria drugs and so on. And if you went down deep into the accounts of several billionaires in Kenya, there are people who sit over mountains of money and they never give
anything to the
society.
Never.
Actually, we do not believe that philanthropy is something that we should practice fervently.
David, do you agree with the senator?
Well, to some extent, I do agree with the senator that philanthropy is something that we should all practice. Philanthropy should not be left to a few. Giving is good for all human beings. And I also want to state that giving is not just limited to finances. It should be more than finances. And if it's not limited to finances, then it goes that everybody has something to give, big or small. What matters is the attitude, that we develop a character and an attitude of giving. Once that is inculcated in an individual, then they will definitely have something to give.
Okay. Mohammed, I'll come to you next. This story on the cover of Business Daily says 74% of salaried Kenyans earn less than 50,000. Do you think that's why perhaps they don't give according to the senator?
Well, I don't think that is the case, because basically, you know, it's your own willing to give. I mean, like what David had said, really it is not even cash. There are so many other things that you can do for the individuals. Like in our case, the Rotary Club of Nairobi, I give an example of, you know, the poor of the poorest having cataract and not able to do it because, you know, they don't have money. Now, in our club, over the years, we have done cataract operations of about 16,000. And these are poor of the poorest. They have no means. Now, we don't give them money. What we do is, we get them, we pay their transport, we accommodate them, we feed them, we operate them, and we send them back with the drugs. We are working with Dr. Mukesh and his team, and this is done very frequently. In fact, we are planning one to do in Garissa.
Okay.
And basically, these are all able people. There's nothing wrong with them. It's only that they are either totally blind or semi-blind. And when you get to the stage that you don't lose your eyes, really you can't do anything. And once we have done that, they feel so happy, and we get that satisfaction. We haven't given them any money. We have operated them. We have given them back the sight.
But it does take resources, though, doesn't it, to mobilize the medical teams?
Of course, it does.
Okay, so in your experience, do you agree with the senator that Kenyans are not philanthropic?
Well, yes, to some extent it gets, but you know, you have to work for it. You have to convince your donors that yes, whatever you give is really going to the right place. Because like our ICAMs, you know, are funded by corporates, by individuals, and once it is done, we send them the reports that what we have done with your money. And usually there are people always to give.
So these are not foreign donors?
No, local donors. We do it all locally, you see.
Okay. Yeah. And do you agree with the senator that Kenyans are not good givers, and could it be on account of the low wages that we see on the Business Daily?
Actually, giving doesn't actually means that you have to have millions. You can have one bob and you still give. The act of giving should be a kind of our day-to-day. It should be a lifestyle. The mere fact that, okay, he said that Kenyans don't give or whatever, you are earning up to 50,000 shillings. When you go up to up country, these people don't even have up to 1,000, but they still give you what, if it's vegetable, maize or whatever. So the amount you earn has nothing to do with your giving. So if it's in you, it's in you. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Teresa, what are your thoughts on what the senator said about philanthropy? You run a children's home, that is Heritage of Faith and Hope. Yes?
Yes.
What's your experience with giving and Kenyans? Do you get a lot of support from Kenyans or from outside? Or do you get your support from foreign donors?
What I would say is giving is all about the heart, because I just see people coming with few clothes. The clothes have outgrown you, and you feel that you'll not be able to use it. You donate that. You can see children from school, high schools, coming to the children home to donate, and they come with their bar soap, which they were given by their parents. They come with their tissues, toilet papers. They are given by their parents. Sometimes they come with their bed sheets to donate to the children home. So what I would say, giving is all about the heart. It doesn't matter what you have or how much you have. It's an act of, it's a lifestyle. I would say that.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Okay, and now I'd like to start with the ladies on another story that's caught my eye. Also on the Business Daily and also in the Standard, HIV infections war shifts to girls aged 15 to 24 years of age. That is on the Business Daily at the bottom there, and also in the Standard, I think on the Business Daily. You can see it here. HIV infections war shifts to girls aged 15 to 24 years old. Teresa, when you read that story, does it concern you?
Yeah, it does. Because like now we have teenagers, we have high school and college children, and when you have not laid the right foundation in the lives of these children, they will tend to run away to go and look for people to support them. And what I have seen, we have been there for 16 years. This is our 17th year. Counseling and bringing them near your heart so that you can tell them the dangers of moving around with older men, moving around with your peers. We must lay a firm foundation, and we teach them the morals. We teach them morals. We tell them the dangers of going out before you get married. That's what we insist on, that you must go to school, study, be in school, get your degree, get your diploma, get employment. Don't go for money, for free money from men. Don't go for free money from those people who are earning more money. And I have seen it working, because children are focused, they are going to school, and they are looking forward to achieve their goals and to connect themselves to their destiny without involving themselves with men, without involving themselves with those immoral things. So I believe you can lay foundation of a morally generation.
Okay. As I said, that story is also in the Standard. That is page 12. It says women getting HIV at an alarming rate. Pastor, could you find your way to that story? That is on page 12. Women getting HIV at an alarming rate. It's the same story that Teresa was commenting on the Business Daily. As a man of the cloth, what do you think when you read such a story? Do you think perhaps the church has failed?
Well, I may not say the church has failed. Of course, it's a big concern when we have such kind of statistics and happenings in our country. But I go back to the old saying that it takes a village to bring up a child. It takes a village to bring up a child. I think we have a collective responsibility that we need to put our efforts together as a society to bring up our children. It is my responsibility, it is your responsibility, it is everyone's responsibility to protect and bring up our children. The moment we have that in mind, then we first of all have a mind shift. That as a man, when I see a young girl, I think about protection. I think about bringing them up. I think about being a caregiver. As a woman, when you see, because the same is also happening, we have older women who are going for very young, boys in the society. Instead of bringing them up as mothers, as older sisters, they take advantage of them. I think we need to inculcate within ourselves as a society that collective responsibility of bringing up the children. Of course, as a church, we also have programs that, as Madam has alluded to, we have programs that are focusing on our young people at such ages, our young girls at this age, 15 to 24, where we are teaching them not only the Word of God, but also teaching them life skills and impacting them in such a way that they are able to stand for themselves and see value and worth and need to take care of themselves. But as a society, we need to challenge the society that all of us must take up a collective responsibility to bring up our children and to offer protection. So what that means is, if I see a neighbor's child moving in ways that probably the parents are not aware, I have a responsibility to come in. I have a responsibility to caution somebody who is preying on our children. I have a responsibility to report. Even some of these cases, parents and the community come together and agree, that was an uncle, that was a close friend, that was this. We should not report. So when we are hiding those people who are messing up with our children, then we give them more strength to continue messing up with our children. Okay. I think we need to stand up as a society.
All right. On that note, Pastor, I would like if you would start approaching the lectern, but you need to take off, I think you will need to take off your microphone first. But then Anne, okay, it's okay, you can go to the lectern, it's fine. Anne Van Lauwe, I was afraid to say the second name in case I get it wrong. Did I say it right?
Yeah, Van Lauwe, yeah.
Is that fine? Okay,
yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the Standard, the top story talks about shake-up plan as audit reveals rot in the judiciary. That is on the cover of the Standard. Shake-up plan as audit reveals rot in the judiciary. That story is also in the Star. And another interesting story which related to that, which could be associated with graft, is a scandal of 1 billion shillings spilt oil. I think earlier I said split. It's spilt oil at the Kenya Pipeline Company. That is on the cover of the Daily Nation. Scandal of 1 billion shillings spilt oil at the Kenya Pipeline Company. Could the two be related, Anne? Do we have a culture of take, as opposed to give?
Yeah, you know, as human beings, I think we are selfish by nature. We always want the best for us, ourselves. But before I go into it, I want to come back to your last topic, HIV infection. There is something missing that I would like us to address. Family unity is very important. You don't leave the responsibility of an outsider to take care of your children. The responsibility of my kids, the way they behave, I think that is where we have missed it nowadays. We leave our kids to the maids to take care of gardener, driver, taking them to school. We should have a bond. We should also teach our kids, especially the girls, that all that glitters are not gold. When I was growing up, if maybe I don't have a lot of dress, if my sister, who is late now, find me wearing a blouse that she wasn't the one that bought it, she would make me to return it. So we should always do that to our girls. You know, the lifestyle now is very fast. They're attracted. There's Facebook. You want to have this. Contentment is the key. Families should sit together, especially mothers. We have a big role to play. Whether you have a boy or a girl, it doesn't matter. So it starts from that to cut off this, to reduce the war of HIV. If you have a bond with your kids, they tell you everything. If they have a need, they will tell you. If you can't afford it, they will understand. So now, back to your story that giving or take this, by nature, you know, we human beings, we are selfish. We always want to have more. If you go to the shopping, you want to have more shoes. You know, ladies want to have more bag. But now, I think the act of giving, just as we said earlier on, comes from the heart. When you know, okay, I have 4 bags. My neighbor here doesn't have. I've seen her going out with plastic. I should bless her with 1 bag. We should learn how to give without even her requesting. Look at your neighbor, study, and see what does my neighbor need. Okay. And here in the city, it's a bit shy. You know, people are a little bit. You know, I don't even know my neighbor. So, but if we take that time to care, everything starts from within the family, within ourselves, then we reach out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mohammed, I'd like you to come in at that point. What do you think is at the root of this culture of take that's behind such scandals that we read about, such as at the Kenya Pipeline Company?
Yeah, you see, the problem is that our younger generation, the one which we call the digital type, they want to get rich overnight. That is the big problem. You know, we have seen in our organizations, a young guy comes to work, he wants to have his own house, he wants to drive a big car, he doesn't want to go through the steps. That is what is the difference between the older generation and the younger generation. They want to get rich overnight. And to get rich overnight, they do all sorts of things which you are getting in the papers. What we should tell them is that, look, progress, yes, but progress with time and progress, you know, with your work. Not that, you know, you can progress by doing what is going on in the papers. That is not leading them anywhere, because it will eventually be caught up.
All right.
And it will take them back to zero.
Okay.
I think patience is important.
All right, thank you. I hope they heard that and will take your advice. Now, our fifth guest is here, Dr. Manu Chandaria. Welcome very much to AM Live. We are discussing giving unto others. Now, our discussion started with comments that were made by the Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi to the effect that Kenyans are not a very generous people. I think we can play that again for the Daktari and for those who missed it. That is the Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi.
Kenyans are not good givers. Kenyans are not philanthropic. Take my word for it. If you look at if you go around to Pokot, go to Baringo, go to wherever and interview the people, they ask them who has built these small healthcare centers or welfare places or rescue centers or such facilities. They will tell you it is the Red Cross, it is a donation from NORAD in Norway, Bill Gates came here to donate malaria drugs and so on. And if you went down deep into the accounts of several billionaires in Kenya, there are people who sit over mountains of money and they never give
anything to the
society. They never.
Yeah.
Actually, we do not believe that philanthropy is something that we should practice fervently.
Thoughts there by the Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi. Dr. Chandaria, by any standard, you're well-to-do. Do you think those comments by the senator are fair?
Well, he is right in saying that millionaires don't give. But I think an average Kenyan is always prepared to help. My feeling is that...
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. There seems to be a problem with the sound, but I'll come back to you for comment. We need to fix that. We'll go straight into the presentation by Pastor David Kiniti of the Parklands Baptist Church. 5 minutes, as I said, on why giving back is important to you. You've given your life to the church, so to speak. So why is it important to you?
Thank you very much. Let me begin by saying three things first. That giving is good. It is the right thing to do. And secondly, giving is not a preserve of a few. It is something that every human being should be able to participate in big or small ways. But thirdly, I also want to say that giving is not limited to finances, so that when an individual doesn't have money, someone thinks that they don't have anything to give. Everybody has something to give, big or small. But why is then giving important to me as an individual? And I want to approach this from three perspectives. First of all, giving is important to me because of my faith. My faith is founded on giving. My faith as a Christian is based on giving, founded on giving, because God gave. The Bible says in John 3:16, a verse that many people know, even if they are not Christians, that for God so loved the world that he gave. The game changer in God's love for the world is giving. And he did not just give anything, he gave his best. He gave his only begotten son, so that then humanity and those of us who are in this faith then get our salvation from that. But secondly, I also look at giving from the perspective of nature. The way, the law of nature is such that there is giving and receiving. It doesn't matter whether you are a Christian, it doesn't matter whether you're not a Christian. The law of nature is such that the person who gives receives. If somebody, you know, meets the needs of others, others in his time or her time of need will come and meet their need. It's a law of nature. And nature is such that when you sow, you reap. Anybody, whether you are a Christian or not a Christian, if you take maize seed and you plant, it will grow. It is the law of nature, cause and effect. So there are things that are even beyond religion, they are within the way God has created nature. Anybody who receives and never gives, it is going against the law of nature. And at the end of the day, they are like dead. Look at even our natural, like for example, oceans and rivers, any water body that just receives, it doesn't have an outlet. It's the law of nature. It is dead. It is not good, you know, for humanity. But thirdly, I look at giving from the perspective of modeling. Why is giving important to me? It is important to me because it was modeled. My parents are not famous. You don't know them. They are not known, you know, by many. They've not traveled to so many places. They are not wealthy, you know, but they modeled giving. In fact, the other day we had a conversation with my mother, and I was telling her, I feel like you give more to others than to us. And then she asked me, is there anything you are lacking because I give more to others and not to you? And you know, I thought for a moment, sure, we are not lacking what we need for life, you know? And this is because she has modeled giving, my father has modeled giving, and so I have grown up knowing that giving is a lifestyle. I don't give because I have plenty. I give because it's like breathing. You know, the way you breathe. So if my brother has a need, I'll give them. So that is why giving is important to me from those three perspectives.
Up. I'm hesitant to ring the bell. I was provided with a bell.
It's the nature of
all right, yeah, they have several finalies.
Yeah,
but thank you very much.
There's always a finally.
Yeah, Pastor. As Teresa makes her way to the lectern, Daktari, you were commenting on the comments of the senator to the effect that Kenyans are not a very generous people. And that informs actually our question of the day. Are Kenyans tight-fisted or miserly? Kenyans tight-fisted or miserly? Send through your comments to @NTV Kenya handle or @AM Live. The question of the day is, are Kenyans a tight-fisted or miserly people, as was put to us by the senator? Okay, Daktari, okay, we'd like to have your comments on that now.
I think that the comment that was made that billionaires don't give, maybe billionaires don't give, maybe millionaires don't give, but an average Kenyan, I've seen, is always prepared to extend his hand. The question is that how do we translate this of giving as one of the habits rather than once somebody comes and asks some help, and at that time, there's so much pain in our society that people can find out ways and means. I was reading an article yesterday, and the article said that this man takes young children and they die in his hands. I thought that it might be something very difficult, but the children who are on the terminal illness, and nobody is prepared to look after them. They go to this home, and he tenders them, looks after them, he pets them, and ultimately, because they are at the terminal illness, they will die. The question is that it doesn't have to have the money all the time. You got to have that time, intention, and doing good. And doing good is not a monopoly of me or anybody else. It's monopoly for every human being. And niceness is where the compassion comes from. And compassion is here. And this compassion must be cultivated. Now, we're left it alone just asking that Everybody should do it. If you go to the schools today, you see their compound. It looks horrible. Now there are 500 people, 600 children, 700 children. Now, if you don't look after yourself and your own institutions, who's going to come and look after you? You think that you would like to just throw something and break the ceiling. Does that mean anything? The question is that we need to, in our books, in our primary education, to start giving is good. It's not necessary that you give the money to a person. Giving is good. You give help. You hold his hand. If he's in pain, you sit with him. You go to the hospital. You visit them. You know, there are so many ways of giving. But people always translate giving is giving money. Money is not the only thing that you give. Giving is, I think my two Rotarian members are over here. We have given almost now 16,000, 17,000 people their eyes and sight. It takes effort. Now, none of them both of them are not the doctors. I'm not a doctor. I chaired that and I did about 11,000 operations in 10 years. But intention should be there. There are people who are prepared to give, but they don't know how to give. So you've got to find out ways and means of attracting them and say, yes, we can use the help. We can use your help as an individual. We can use your help as your premises. We can use your health as your skills. We can use your health as money. Anything that you are prepared to give, we can.
Okay. All right. So we take a short break on that note. We come back with Teresa, who speaks to us from the lectern, telling us why giving is important to her. A good morning to you. You're watching AM Live. We are discussing giving unto others. And our question of the day is, are Kenyans a tight-fisted or miserly people? And that this conversation has been informed by comments made on Monday by the Kiambu Senator Kimani Wamatangi, who said Kenyans rely on foreign donors, don't give so much themselves. A few reactions already coming in. You can tweet us on @AM Live and @NTV Kenya. Jacob Abere Matlala says, yes, I have seen reactions of my gallant citizens towards crisis. Examples during famine and drought in northern frontiers and emergency medical bills. Only leaders ndio mikono gamo. So that is Jacob Aber Matlala, who says Kenyans are philanthropic. Ishmael Ngetich agrees with him. He says, give and grow, withhold and wither. Now let's hear from Teresa Waweru on why giving is important to her. She's the founder director of the Heritage of Faith and Hope Children's Home, which is based in Athi River. Teresa, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Teresa Waweru. I'm the founder director of Heritage of Faith and Hope Children's Home. And what made me think of starting this home is only that I went through a challenge. I used to work for an insurance company, and the company went under receivership. And I found that the company was not ready to pay us. And after demonstrating for 8 weeks in the streets, I felt in my heart that I must go out and do something so that I can support my family, because my husband was a commission agent with the same company. So I went out, and one day I just thought, let me go to the field and see what I can do. I woke up one morning and I felt in my heart I want to sell meat. I went to Kariobangi, Kiamaiko, and I bought 10 kilos of meat. I had my 4,000 Kenya shillings. After buying, I just packed it and I carried on my back and I started selling. And I had a commitment. I knew that it's a big challenge, but I knew very well that God will help me. I told God, these are my hands. Bless the works of my hands. I promise I will touch a life. And I started the business, hawking in Easterns, because that is where I used to stay. I knocked from other people's door, requesting them to buy. By then, I had 5 children. I had a mortgage with the same company. We had a cooperative loan. And I was thinking that the house will be repossessed if I don't clear. Our firstborn could not go to Standard 8, to Form 1, sorry. And I told God, bless the works of my hands. I went out and I started hawking. 1 year down the line, I had made over 300,000 Kenya shillings. And that was just culling meat on my back. 2.5 years, I was able to have had many orders. And I thought, I promised God that I will touch a life. I went to DTW, I bought a pickup, and I decided to sell meat. That is the time I found that it is working out, and I thought, let me bring women together. I mentor them. I tell them that you can start a small business with little money and it can grow. I went out, I went to young people, I started bringing them to meat business, teaching them the skills of how you can sell meat, how you can pack, how you can name them, and packaging and going out without even thinking about those big things like a vehicle or what. You struggle a lot with the city council, police, but eventually I made it. And that is the time I decided, God has given me so much, let me go to the streets and start feeding children. And because I was in Harambee Avenue, I went at Aga Khan Walk. That is where I started feeding children. And 30th of August 2002, I started the home with 38 children. I rehabilitated, and after that, I took them to school. Over 100 children are working, because through the hard work that God has helped us to do, we have partners who are employing them. At the moment, at the home, we have over 170, and we have 40-something in high school. We have over 20 in university and colleges. And we have of 100, and they are total orphans. They are from very needy backgrounds. And every day I wake up, I feel so fulfilled and motivated. When I see them going to work, like this morning, I came with a number who are working in town, and they have not exited the home, because our exit strategy is to give them a job, you exit and go and live wherever you want to go. It has been a blessing to me to give, because I have seen my children growing and coming back to help us to support these children. I have seen other children coming to see what we are doing and supporting. And so what I would say that it's not all about me. It is not all about my children. It's not all about my family, because we have extended family. It's about touching a life and making a difference and leaving a legacy in this world. And I feel so contented. And I thank my husband, because he has been so supportive. I came up with such a big thing, and he decided to work with us. And when you are alone, you'll not make it. When you are two, you make it. After you start it, people will come following you and asking you, what can I do for you? Where can I help? Today, these children have got a good home, a 2-3-story building. They are sleeping. We have our own school. The children are coming to school. We had a good mini grade this year. And I feel good when I see them grow, when I see them coming to me and asking me, Mom, which way do we go? Which way? Even if I don't have that money people think about, I have the heart. And the heart means a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That is a very motivational story. Sorry, I had to cut you short. Your time is up. But as Muhammad makes his way to the lectern, Pastor, what is the greatest act of kindness you've ever received?
The greatest act of kindness I have ever received, I think one of them is forgiveness. Somebody just forgiving you for your mess and accepting you as you are gives you a new life. And I have received forgiveness. And that's why I am insisting that giving is not limited to finances. Even the act of accepting someone as they are, you give them a new life. There are people today, their need is not money. Their need is not resources. Some of them is just a kind gesture, as Daktari was saying, of somebody just being there.
Right.
Somebody who is in a terminal, for example, illness.
Okay.
You may not even have anything else to give, but just being there for them. So yes, forgiveness. I have received forgiveness.
Right.
And I think it gave me a new lease of life.
Okay, all right. Muhammad, why is giving important to you?
Well, you see, giving is important because if you go back, what David has been talking about religion, whatever you have, you cannot claim that it is because of your intelligence or it is because of, you know, your being so smart. It is He who gives you. And when He gives you, He expects you to also give it out. And this is unfortunately not happening. The ones who have, they want to increase more and more. They want to increase more and more, legally or illegally. And in the process, it's that competition that who has got more and who has got more than the other one. I think if one understands that, look, what you have got is from Him and there is a share in that for the poor, then we would have a society where when you ask somebody to give, it is not an issue. They'll give. However, having said that, I think we also have a problem in our society that when you give, you really don't know whether what you are giving will go to the right place. So people have those doubts in their head. I mean, in our club, like the Rotary Club, when we approach individuals, they give us knowing that yes, this money will go to the right place. When you create that doubt that you are giving and you think that it will not be properly used, people shy off. So I think even the recipient should be responsible and should at least report that what is happening. I mean, Teresa talked about the children's home. If I were to take their, say, 2 sacks of maize, I would expect that she would at least issue me a receipt that yes, 2 bags of maize have been received. And I feel contented that yes, at least this maize will get to the children. But if I go to a home and we give and the guy says, ha, sante sana, and that's the end of it, you go with a doubt. Will that reach the children or not? Earlier we mentioned about the women getting more HIV aid. Giving is not only outside, giving is also in your own family. Are you doing justice by giving to your own family? I have known so many of my friends, good jobs, good salaries, from the office they go straight to their holes. They are there until midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. They have enough, they eat nyamachoma, and they go home. They don't know what the family ate. They don't know what the children did. In the morning, even before the children wake up, the guy is gone. Is that giving? God has given you a good job. Are you doing justice to your family? What will be the poor lady do at home because it becomes her responsibility to feed the children? The guy is only paying the rent and he pays the school fees. Nothing else. That is not giving. You start first at home. You start to make sure you take care of your own family. Once you do that, it will all naturally bring in your mind that, look, we are contented, we are a happy family. I have now to look care of, like what Teresa mentioned, the poor children who have nothing. I think that is what is important.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And within your time limit, thank you. As you take your seat, Dr. Chandaria, I would like to hear from you where you are. Why is giving so important to you?
Giving is normally natural. Every human being has feeling when he finds pain anywhere. He would like to see what he can do. The question is, many a times they are not organized, and they'll say, okay, we'll do it tomorrow, and then tomorrow becomes day after tomorrow. So I think that the point is, how do we make a living not just as a feeling, but living as a part of our education, living as a part of our businesses, so that we start thinking about others before we, all right, every individual is first, they're all for themselves. But then the minute they come above that, and most of them do, but how do we now attract them into doing this? Unless and until we show them a way and a route by which they could certainly feel comfortable with, then I think the giving can be a part. So I think giving should be at home, as he said. Giving should be at the schools, understanding what the giving is all about. When you're young, giving should be there, what you can do in your businesses, in your social work, wherever you are. The point is that there's so much of pain in the world, so that you can certainly help, and you must feel that I've helped, and you feel satisfied. That is the payment returned back to you. And so how do we make our children start thinking that it's not only for them, this is my pen, this is my book, this is my house, this is my, instead of my, how can we start thinking that, yes, I am all right, as I think that Ms. Waweru said, that she felt she was all right, she was okay, but she wanted them to do something more. Now something more was not doing business, it was adding value to the lives of others. And I think that the people that you see over here sitting has got a style of making very sure to attract not 100, maybe 1,000, maybe 10,000, to make them to feel that this is what I can do. So I think it's just only touching the hearts. And nobody can say that you can have difference of opinion with one person, you can have a fight with one person, but you cannot fight the whole world. The whole world is with you, and you cannot survive without them. So interdependence is so much that the minute we translate that interdependence with extending your hand and saying, yes, I will be with you. Now, many a times I feel, I was 10 years the chairman of street families, children. I walked all the slums. Why should I do it? Tell me. It's not, but I felt that it is my duty now. I am in a position, the government has appointed me, I should. And so I would go and touch their hands. I'll touch their lives and make sure that they have a better. That doesn't mean that I've been able to clean up and clear up the problem. But whatever you do, that means you extend myself to somebody else's help. And I think giving to me, it starts at every place, at home, at work, at school, at social clubs, wherever you are. Let us make sure that understand that there is a pain. Here it says today that 74% of Kenyans in the paper today earn less than 50,000. Just think about them. How can they make their ends meet? Now, if you came along in their life, just Ms. Waveru came along and changed the lives of students. They were on the streets. And they are in universities, they're in businesses, they're all over the place. So my personal feeling is, you got to shake individuals. Hey, there is so much good in you, and that good must come out in giving. That must demonstrate that what you are inside, which is good, the society must know and see for yourself. And I think each one of us, if we can go to that path, we can. There's no stopping there.
All right. Thank you very much. Anne, your presentation is next. I'll ask you to please go to the lectern. As you go to the lectern, Dr. Chandaria, you raised the story that's on the headline of the Business Daily, which we had discussed a bit earlier, which is that 74% of salaried Kenyans earn less than 50,000.
Yeah.
What of those who argue that you can afford, you have the luxury to give, and that these 74% of Kenyans are barely making ends meet? What would you say to them? Yes.
Well, as I told you, that money is not an issue. You have to go and touch somebody else's life. Now, that means you need to wake up and feel about it, and feel an urgency, a need. Then you can. The question is, it's not necessary that you go with a pocket of money to buy and to give some sweets to the people. This is not it. When she says she got the women together and say, hey, come on, look at me. I had nothing, and I built this. You can do the same. Now that encouragement and that pushing, now unless and until you make people that, yes, all Kenyans must, of people who can give, and it's not only that the people who are rich who can give, people of all the part of society, then we will have much more better society together. You go to the Western countries, you go to the Japan, you go to Korea, they hold each other's hand. That doesn't mean that it's only the money. It's the support and commitment to a cause. So my feeling is very clear on this issue, that we are missing the boat, We have got wonderful people in the country, but we cannot send that message to them that, hey, come on, you've got a treasure here. Open it up. And I think you can do it.
All right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. And over to you. Why is giving important to you?
Okay, thank you very much. Giving is very, very important to me because I was raised to give. My my sister that brought me up, she's late now, 5 years. I never knew. You know, she brought us up to give. It was when she died, I knew the importance of giving. When, like, she has visited me here about twice. She went to visit her kids in Canada and the US. She had excess luggage, not for her, but to give her neighbors and her friends. But her death, actually, I knew I was well brought up, and I grew up knowing, learning from her how to give. She doesn't eat alone. And when she died 5 years ago, I went to the funeral. The wake keep was supposed to be from 5 to 7. That was the official time. And we had prepared for 300 people. More than 600 showed up from the markets, from the women's league, from the church, from everywhere. You know, I like to observe. Because she was my sister, I could say a lot of good things about her. But people are just saying, oh, no, it's my mother. My mother has passed on. Who is going to do this and that? I thought it was over until we got to the village, because we live in the city, and we had to bury her in the village. When we got to the village, her burial was carnival. The whole village stood still. I just looked at her. I said, she has touched lives. She wasn't a billionaire or a millionaire, but the little she has shared with people. So in my heart there, I said, I would like to die like my late sister. Not at a very tender age like her, but the legacy she left behind. Sometimes, you know, the people that came, they were just saying, the villagers, if there was a lady, my sister wasn't a doctor. He just said, oh my God, this good woman has passed on. Who is going to treat my wound? Who is going to bring me Panadol from the city? Those are little things that matter. So, giving is very important in our lives. If you have to instill it in your children, it has to start from the home. If you learn how to give from the home, from onset, you will not find it difficult to give. That was my background. Like, this is the woman that brought me up, and this is who I am today. I never knew. That was the aspect I never saw. Like her dying, having a kind of state, carnival, burial. I never had time to shed tears, except when she was being lowered in the grave. That was when it hit me that this woman is gone. When I look back, she touched so many lives. And my children, I have 2. That was how my life started. Like, I want my children to also learn how to give. Sometimes reading it on the newspaper is not enough. Teaching it in the classroom is not enough. As family, we have to start giving from the home. If you learn how to give, it's become a way of life. Giving is living. You know, when you have something, my daughter, whenever she's coming, she's buying presents for ABC. I have this one. It might even cost less than 50 bob or less than 1 bob. She'll still get something. Sometimes it's not the amount of money you have, you put into it. Just like Dr. Manu has said, giving is not also about money. Your time also is giving. How many times have our neighbor is in pain? They have everything. You know, the rich also cry. They have their own. Have you sat down to listen to them when they're in pain? Have you given a word of advice? have you clothed that naked lady walking around, or you make mockery of her? So that was my journey to Rotary, and I find myself in Rotary. Rotary is all about giving. Rotary is a way of life for me. 3 of us here, we are Rotarians. And thank God that I never knew that Dr. Manu would be here. You could see he's also a giver. The ICAMP that President Salim has talked about, he supports it firmly. We have other projects like Canadian. There are some Canadian projects we have. They have been with us for over 15 years. These projects, they send like almost 13 million into the country. They have touched 75,000 children's lives. Simple things. What does this? What do we do with the money? It's bed kits. You see, as a parent, I'm supposed to provide mattress, pajamas for my kids, mosquito net. Sometimes we don't look at the big things. Let those who have the money to do the big things. Let's start the little ones we can do. This bed kit contains flip-flop, mosquito net, bags, crayon, pencil, stationaries, and the mattress, those small mattress. That was my first project when I was introduced into Rotary. That was 10 years ago. And Dr. Salim here, I call him Dr. Salim, President Salim here was my mentor. He was just talking about these Canadian people will come, you have to do this, you have to arrange, make sure the kids are dressed properly, you don't have to. I was just, listening to him. My first, very new in Rotary. But the experience I got, the first experience I got when my site, I had 400 kids. It changed my life completely.
Okay.
Seeing is believing. It's just like these kids, the Canadian distributes, they gave them the bed kit. The way they were holding this bed kit, it was like, I had a daughter, it's like I bought her Barbie. Because most of them are little children, just like the children I had at home. The way they held this mattress, I was somewhere, my heart got broken.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so very much for sharing with us this morning. Unfortunately, the 5 minutes is up. Okay. You can take your seat, but we still have a few more minutes to keep discussing this. Teresa, do you find, has anything changed in the way people give when you compare your childhood and today? Is there a difference?
A very big difference, because I get so many people coming. And I remember of one incident, a small boy who was schooling in our school. He came and told me, Mother, I will come and support your children home. And he is in standard 6, only because he has seen that what I'm doing with the children, and he found that it is a worthy cause. So he came and told me, Mother, I'll come and support your children. And he's not yet in standard 8.
Okay, now I'm asking, when you were a child in your society, in your village, where were you raised?
Gatundu
South. In Gatundu South, if you compare the way people gave then and the way people give now, has there been a shift, or are people as generous as they have always been?
What I would say is there's a big change, because those times people are not thinking about other people. People never knew about the problems other people are going through. But there's a big exposure through the media, through the social media. You have known that child is suffering there, that child is suffering there. And people have been coming in. Previously, people never knew that there are people who are suffering. Some of them never knew that there are children who are sleeping without food. But at the moment, I think the whole world knows that there are those people, the poor of the poorest, and there are those people who are living good life. So people have really changed. They just need to know that you are doing a worthy cause. If you are doing a worthy cause, be sure that people will come. Because like now, Heritage, we are not supported from outside. We just get local people donating food, donating clothes, not because we have not talked to people outside. We have, but local people have come in a big way to support, to encourage, to mentor, and even to coach our children.
Okay. Have you ever had to turn a child away?
No, I can't. What I do, in February, I had 20 children from Nakuru. They were brought by the municipal council, and they were fresh from the streets. And I have those children who are fully rehabilitated. The character was not very good, but when I looked at them, I remembered the first lot I had and how they changed, and now they are in the universities. I felt that I must clean on. But I cry a lot because I see this is a life which is supposed to live, they're supposed to enjoy, they're supposed to go to their destiny, and I must do all means to take, even if it is locking them inside. I lock them inside to stay there until they are out of their drugs addiction. So I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Mohammed, what's the greatest act of kindness you've ever experienced?
The greatest kindness I have seen is in our eye camps.
No, that you've personally?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I wasn't involved in the eye camps. It was Manu who pushed me in. Because late Jerry Award was the one who was running the eye camp, and he was getting old. So Manu said that, Salim, why don't you take over? So I went on 1 or 2 visits casually, and I said, well, Jerry told me, now Salim, the second camp you have to take over. And when I took over the camp, these old people, you know, being led by a grandson, blind, he cannot see. And when the operation is done, the joy they get, you know, the stick which he came with, he throws it. He says, I don't need it now. And the joy we see, the hugging of that grandchild, that, oh, you're my grandchild, I haven't seen you since birth, you know, that really touched me. And I said, well, this is something I will carry on doing until I can. And it has become our flagship project. We do it every year. And I remember there was, normally we do it for elderly, we don't do for young people. There was a young girl, up 16 years old, totally blind. And the clinical officer came to me, said that, look, I mean, she doesn't qualify because she's young, but she was totally blind. I felt pity on her. I said, at young age, 16 years, she's blind. So I pleaded with Dr. Mukesh. I said, look, this is a young girl, let's do her. He agreed. We did her. And when that girl was able to see the pleasure she got, and she started jumping and dancing and joined the other ladies to, you know, to join her to dance. And we told her, because we give transport back also, that please go to the, your ward. She says, no. We were doing it in Kissi. She says, I know Kissi. I know how to get home. Leave me. I just can't wait another day.
Okay.
So, you know, you feel happy that, look, you're doing something which you are touching the lives of others. And there's nothing you are doing, you see. You're just giving your time. That's all. And it is so important.
Okay. Dr. Chandaria, I think you're the only one who hasn't answered that question. What is the greatest act of kindness you've ever received?
Well, I don't know which particular one to touch.
Which made the most impact?
I think the biggest impact that I've been able to do is in education, in health, in disability, being the chairman for Street Family. You know, you got to go through an exercise of what touches you. The minute it touches you, you're a dynamo then. And many times when I look back now of all this 65 years or 67 years of service, I find that, hey, how can I get the time? When it told us just now that, you know, they go in the morning and they don't even see the face of the children, they come back late at night. To me, I find I have chaired so many institutions. I created so many institutions. Now, I'm not 5 times Manu Chandaria. I'm one man. Intensity and intentions of giving must drive you. And everybody might not be Manu Chandaria, but even it touches little bit, it makes a difference in the life of others.
Okay.
This is the fundamental issue that we got to push. How can you make a person feel, as Fazal and Muhammad told us, when he saw the first time the camp, the second time the camp, he felt, oh, I can do it. I must do it. And for all these years, he's been doing it. So, time, people say, well, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have this. You have this.
Mm-hmm.
And this must make this run. And if that touches you, all the time in the world is there. There are 24 hours in life, in a day. And the point is that we need good people. We've got very many good people in Kenya, but we need now a band of those good people who will show what they've been able to change. And many times change is holding a hand of somebody else, making them to understand that he can stand up. If you cannot make that, then you know, by feeding is not the answer. By feeding and making sure that they appreciate and understand why people are giving and what is his responsibility now in return. So I think that volunteerism is another idea, thought. Finally, I set up with the Ministry of Labour. We created the voluntary law. Actually, the first was and then we made an act, so that people can go. It's not only a piece of paper. It's to tell people that, look, besides teaching A, B, C, D, E, this is also your duty. And I think that, as I said, everybody is selfish. Everybody wants for me. But the minute you get out of me to somebody else, that's the biggest transformation that we want. And we want our children and our people, our men, women, youth. They're loitering. How many people? It's not small. 3 million. Now, what stops them to make Nairobi, Kisumu, Nakuru beautiful than what it is today? Tell me. I was very surprised that some university wrote to me and said, we are in Egerton, but we would like to improve a particular township there. Can you help us out? I said, all right, I can help you out, but what are you going to do? He said, we will clean the streets, we will install the dustbins, we'll tell the people that, look, this is your town. Now, it is 100 kilometers away from where they are. So, nobody can stop you in doing good. The point is that, how do you make people to do good? And I think that examples of Mama and her and Ms. Vaveru and him, these are the examples which people should look at and ask oneself, is he motivated with money only? Does he want to spend 3 days in Kisumu for ICAM? Tell me. No.
Okay.
So I think that there is a tremendous amount of following we should create. And not that I'm a singer so that I can have following, but I am a giver and I want hundreds and thousands of people to give.
Okay.
That's it.
Dr. I'll come back to you. I want you to think about an act of kindness that you've received yourself personally.
Oh, I must have received kindness when I went to study outside. I knew nothing about, I went to the United States. And people came along and said, don't worry. I was a pure vegetarian. My food was very different than what is served in the cafeteria. But then somebody spotted and said, hey, you look to be very different and little sad. And I held my hand and said, come on, tell us, what do you like to eat? You know, that kind of kindness started my life in understanding that you cannot express, but there could be people who should be able to immediately pick it up. And that was the first kindness that I started. All right, and when I was young, lots of kindness must have happened. I cannot remember one by one sequences, but I can remember that when I was in the United States, being a vegetarian in a cold climate, not eating meat, not eating eggs, not eating, it was very difficult. But then somebody in the cafeteria came back and said, hey, I see you don't eat very much. What can I do for you? And that started that why would that person come to me and do this to me? And so it's not a monopoly. It's anybody who can see, and we've got two eyes. We can see the pain. If you can't see the pain, that's all right. But we can see the pain. The point is that, does that pain, your eyes which it sees, touches your heart? If it doesn't touch your heart, then you'll roll your glass up and say, I don't see it. That doesn't mean the pain goes away. I think that we need to cultivate people, younger people in our community. And this can only be done when the parents are giving. Then they will give. My granddaughter lives in Singapore, studies in Singapore, comes over here and 4 times goes to the slum to teach violin. Why? Is there a reason? The point is that you got to cultivate your children to say that, look, you are happy, that doesn't mean the world is happy. You got to translate that happiness in others' lives. And this is what all these people are doing, is touching somebody else's life.
Okay.
Maybe it's eyes, maybe it's job, maybe schooling, maybe pat on the back, whatever it is. How can we do that?
All right.
And this is what I think that we, as good Kenyans, we are. But let's get that goodness out and see, hold hands of others.
All right, thank you very much for that. Pastor, I'll come to you, Pastor David Kiniti. Dr. was talking about raising your children to give. Do you have children?
Yes, I do.
All right, and how are you doing that? How are you raising them to be givers?
Well, I will just share one experience very quickly. One day we were coming from church and my daughter peeps through the window and sees somebody seated on the street begging. She's turning 7 this December, so she's 6. She must have been 3 then. And she saw somebody who was crippled and was begging on the streets, looked dirty, looked tired, the sun was out. And she started asking me questions in the car. Daddy, why is that man seated there? Why doesn't he go home? Why, what is happening to him? And, for a moment I brushed the story away. But then she continued asking questions. And I tried to explain. Of course, at that age, she can't comprehend disability. She can't comprehend, poverty, such things. But that incident bothered her. And we went about 4 kilometers home. And, after an hour or 2, we are home. She comes back to me and says, Daddy, can we go and do something to this man that, boy that we saw? And she has the plan rolled out. She says, can you buy bread? Can mom buy milk? And I will get an apple and we get some water and take to this person. And that just blew me, my mind. And I did not hesitate. We packed all those things and drove back. Unfortunately, we didn't find the beggar. But then from that day on, myself and my children and my wife, once in a while we take a drive around on something that we call bread and milk ministry. Is very simple. Just buy loaves of bread and packets of milk, pack it in the car, And as we drive around, anyone we see, you know, the street children, and especially the disabled, we just give a packet of milk, and my daughter can go out and give a packet of milk and bread. And so already she is learning to give. Of course, in the house I have taught them that sharing is caring. I have 2 girls, one is 3, one is 6. Of course, the one who is 3, when it's time to share with her, she's saying sharing is caring, you know, loudly. But when it's time for her to share, she is very slow to, you know, to share it. But she's learning. And in those very simple acts, and where did I get this? I got this from my parents. That once in a while, mom will say, take this gorogoro. You know gorogoro? Gorogoro is the 2 kg bucket full of maize so that you can go to the posho mill and make flour out of it. And she will say, take this, take to that family. Take this, take to that other family. And so, as I said earlier, it's a way of life. It's not something that I do and then I look out for results. That act in itself is already satisfying, that somebody else has had a packet of milk and has had a loaf of bread. They may have that as their meal for the whole day.
All right. Thank you for that. Mohammed, or President, should I call you President?
Yeah.
Salim, as Anne calls you. You mentioned the issue of receipts as by way of example when you were making your presentation. You said you talked about 2 bags of, was it maize or something, like you'd take to a children's home and you would expect a receipt to be sure that it goes to the children.
Correct.
Now, we had stories of cartels bringing in disabled people onto Nairobi streets and to make money. So does that ever give you reason for pause?
Yes, you see, excuse me, it's very important, you know. There are 2-way traffics. One is giving, the other is receiving. And the only difficulty we have a lot of people who are ready to give. Even the corporate bodies are ready to give. But the problem is, some of them, in fact, they have the budgets which actually are not utilized, because the problem is they don't know whom to give. And the reason for that is because they don't know whether this money will get to the right place or not. And I think it is very important, the accountability. If we give a proper account of where the money has gone and who has benefited and how it has been spent, you will never miss donors. Anne mentioned about this NGO from Canada. They send us 14 million every year. Now, NGOs overseas, you know, would never send you that money if they don't know that it goes to the right place. They themselves fly in at their own cost. And they say that these bed kits which we are giving to children, we are going to give ourselves. And before they distribute, they open one and see what is inside it. Now, if we are not transparent, if we are not, you know, giving the right material and the right price, they would shy off. And that is important. You have to give a proper accountability. When the money, you know, goes down the drain and you don't give an account, donors shy off. They will not come back to you.
Okay.
And that's our experience.
All right. Dr. I know you have to be on your way, Dr. Chandaria. But one final question. You worked with street children, as you said. You're sitting in your car. I'll give you this scenario. You're sitting in your car, then a beggar knocks on your car window. Do you ever worry sometimes that this person could be taking advantage of you?
Yes, I do. I do take an, but the point is that my lifestyle has always been, when somebody approaches me, he knows that he is going to get help. He doesn't, I walk in the streets and people only come to say hello, shake my hand. Can I take a photograph? Can you give me your telephone number? You know, the question is that how do you reflect yourself to the people of Kenya? As long as if Miss Waweru, I've seen for the first time now, but if she passes through the streets, I might not remember the name, but I will remember the face. Because the face signifies the goodness that she has been able to do. And so I think that all we need is shaking up ourselves. Because overnight we are not going to wipe out all the tears. But can we wipe out 10, 20, 30? Because those deaths will make Kenyan feel that they are responsible for unhappiness in the country. Because we are all responsible for it, what's happening. But how do we see, because when it ends up into a place where children go to sleep with half a meal a day, or sometimes no meal a day, can I feel hurt? The minute I feel hurt, I'm prepared to do it. So, in so many institutions that I worked and I created, as I told you, that to me, avenue is, don't ever say that I don't have the time. Don't ever say that I don't have the money. The money is not a necessity. Time is everything, 24 hours are available. So how do you cultivate that attitude within the people? And my feeling is we can, if we work hard. And we want. And we want Kenya to become a shining example. Not what we are shining example today, but shining example of holding hands of others.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Dr. Chandaria. Teresa, I'll come to you now. But remember, you keep sending your thoughts to at NTV Kenya, at AM Live. I'm just scrolling through to get them ready for us to peruse. But at AM Live, at NTV Kenya, please share your thoughts on the subject, which is giving unto others. Teresa, over to you now. What comes to your mind when you watch the news every day, day in, day out, and people are like, Serikali tusaidie?
I think Serikali will not do everything to you. Because the time I started the home, I didn't have, I was not thinking about what the government will do. I was thinking that I am touching a life. And when I decided to move out, I started moving out and outreaching people. And I had the strategy. School going age, we will go to school. College, vocational, those who had dropped from high school, we will go back. And at one point, it was after 3 years, I approached the government. And I told them, we told them what we are doing. And they gave us 3-acre land. And when people ask me what is the government doing, I shall tell them they gave us a piece of land. And to me, I feel it's all about me going out, working a lot, because the home is founded on Christian values and entrepreneurship. So what we do, we think of working every day. We don't think about what the government is doing. We are here to change the life of Kenyans. So we keep cattle, we keep chicken, we keep pigs in order to make a difference. So we don't wait for the government to come and work. We work extra hard. They'll meet us on the way. Yeah, they'll get us on the way.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, and has there ever been an instance where you regretted not giving?
No. If I don't have, I'll actually go out of my way. I'll borrow to give. It depends on what the needs are. If it's within my power, yes, I'll answer, because you never know. Being also a Christian, a Rotarian, maybe you are the last person to answer. It's a kind of a call between life and death. And when I say no, I don't know what will happen to the person. So I will just make sure that I am able to solve. If I don't have, I will borrow and I will call. I have friends. I will just call that I need this to happen. Yeah.
Okay. President Salim? Is there an instance where, not necessarily today, but even years back, when you didn't give and you felt you should have?
Yes, it has happened, you see. You know, it depends on what the need is and how genuine it is, because you see there are also a lot of needs which really, you know, when the moment is requested that this doesn't sound genuine. But if it is a genuine need, and it has happened in the past, somebody comes and says, look, I have this problem and I can't help him, but I'll find a friend.
Okay.
I'll talk to a friend, and the friend has helped them.
All right. When you say, you said something very pertinent, which is there's a lot of need. I think that has come across from all the panelists. So if I'm thinking of giving, where do I start?
Now, you see, where you start is because you see the donors, like Teresa is there, probably she will come to your office tomorrow, you know, asking for. So, like I mentioned, this is an issue because you want to give, but you don't know where to give. So what is important is that you also need to be vigilant, you know, to see what's happening in the country, where the need is. If there are floods and people are desperate, if there is a fire, people are desperate. Now there are organizations which have the reputation and they are behind it. Those ones you can give. You can be rest assured that, you know, the money will not go anywhere. It will go to them. The Red Cross is one of them, you know. Once you give them, you know that it will be properly used. Or the organizations which you trust, or your church or your mosque, if they make an appeal that, look, we want to give clothes or we want to give food, please come up. Now, you need to trust them. You see that, yes, these are genuine cases. You give there. There cannot be a place that you don't know where to give. There's always a place where to give. And we have found that giving alone doesn't mean that you give and nothing. He is watching you. The moment you give, he also returns. Exactly. It's not that, you know, you just give and nothing happens. I give you my own example. We went to one eye camp, and my daughter, she was just finishing high school and she was at the university doing her medicine. I said, look, I'm going for an eye camp. Would you want to come? So she said, yeah, I'll come. She wasn't qualified. She couldn't touch the patients. But she went to the theater and she saw what's going on and she saw what's coming out, you see. She came home and they said, Daddy, this is what I want to do.
Okay.
So she's a specialist, ophthalmologist, and when she got admission for ophthalmology, she got a scholarship. She got a full scholarship. No, I paid no fees. I paid nothing for the equipment. And my Rotarian colleague says, this is a return you are getting for what you have been doing.
All right. Let's end with you, Pastor. Have you ever had moments where your phone rings and then you're like, oh, it's this person again asking me for more money? Have you ever had such moments?
Yeah, of course, there are such moments. And basically, as I said earlier, that the law of nature, when you teach yourself to be a recipient and not a giver, you should not be on either or. We should be on both. There are times I also need help and assistance, and I reach out to people. But we need to cultivate an attitude that I am not the one to receive always. It's a question of, can I also be on the giving end, where I also stretch out my hand and give someone. Yeah, those moments have been there. And let me also say that you should not be guilty when at a particular point you are not able to give. Because there will be another opportunity that will come and you will also be able to give. So there are times, again, people have asked me for help, and honestly, at that point, I'm not able to give. But I empathize with them and I encourage them. I can share an idea of, you know, another way that person can get some help or something of that sort. But finally, let me also say that I have also been conned in the process of giving. But there are two things about giving, satisfactions about giving. The first satisfaction is self-satisfaction. I was convinced I needed to give, and I gave, and I'm satisfied. The second satisfaction, of course, is when you see transformation happening in the life of that other person. But the most important one is when you have that self-satisfaction. Now, whether this person was conning you or not conning you, you go home knowing that in the best of my conscience, I did what I knew was right to do at that particular moment.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pastor. Unfortunately, that concludes our discussion, but I was just scrolling through your reactions and there's so many. Kak Oak says, thank you for today's topic. Personally, giving is so important to me because I've been a beneficiary of gracious giving. I strongly believe that giving is the best way to please God and to get fulfillment in life. We also have Governor the Dreamer saying, an avid viewer actually, saying in the end, our lives are valued not on how much money we had, but by how much love we gave away. We conclude AM Live on that note. Coming up, Living with Us.